Hello students, welcome back to the English class. And now let's continue chapter number 5, Mother's Day, from page number 43. And now Mrs. Fitzgerald, who is in the body of Mrs. Annie Pearson, is trying to bring her family on the right path. Now she has tried her best, and now enters George, husband of Annie Pearson. George, hello, what's this? Can't be anything to cry about. Now when he enters the room, he sees that Doris Pearson is in tears, she is crying, and then he inquires why she was crying, and also he feels that there is nothing to be cried at this moment, as he feels that nothing is happening wrong in the room, in the house. Doris, through sobs, you'll see. Then still she is crying, and she answers that he would see himself what's happening now, why she was crying. Doris runs out, left with a sob or two on the way. George stares after her a moment, then looks at Mrs. Pearson. Then Doris leaves the house, leaves the room, and then she runs out left. Still she is crying, she is sobbing. And George looks at her after a moment and then looks at Mrs. Pearson. George, did she say you'll see? Mrs. Pearson, yes. George is still confused what Doris had said, and he asked from Mrs. Pearson that she was saying you will see. Mrs. Pearson responded positively. She said yes, she had said you will see. George, what did she mean? Mrs. Pearson, better ask her. But George asks from Mrs. Pearson what she wanted to say, what was the reason she said so. But Mrs. Pearson says that it would be better you just ask from Doris. George looks slowly again at the door, then at Mrs. Pearson. Then he notices the stout that Mrs. Pearson raises for another sip. His eyes almost bulge. Now he looks again at the door, and then he looks at Mrs. Pearson. Now he notices that Mrs. Pearson is carrying stout in her hand. She is going to take another sip, and then his eyes becomes almost bulge. He becomes very much angry. George, stout. Mrs. Pearson, yes. George, amazed. What are you drinking stout for? Mrs. Pearson, because I fancied some. George, at this time of day? Mrs. Pearson, yes, what's wrong with it at this time of day? Now when he looks at Mrs. Pearson that she is carrying stout in the hands and she is going to take the sip of stout, then he becomes very much surprised. He is shocked that she was taking drink at this time. She was drinking stout at the daytime. Then he puts question to Mrs. Annie Pearson why she was taking at this time of day. Then she says that because she needed it, she wanted it, that's why she was taking. And there is nothing wrong at this time. Mrs. Pearson, yes, what's wrong with at this time of day? George, bewildered. Nothing, I suppose, Annie, but I have never seen you do it before. Mrs. Pearson, well, you are seeing me now. Now, bewildered means puzzled. George becomes puzzled, and he says that there is nothing with it if she was taking stout at this time. But also he feels that she had never seen Annie taking stout at this time, at the daytime. But now Mrs. Pearson says him that he was seeing her then. George, with heavy distaste, yes, and I don't like it. It doesn't look right. I am surprised at you. But George says that he didn't like it that Annie Pearson was taking stout at this time, and he was very much surprised to look at her. And also he feels that it did not look right. Mrs. Pearson, well, that ought to be a nice change for you. But Mrs. Pearson says that if it doesn't look right to you, then it would be a nice change for you. Now I have changed. I want to do different things, and it will really be a nice change for you also. George, what do you mean? Mrs. Pearson, it must be some time since you were surprised at me, George. George, I don't like surprises. I am all for a steady going on. You ought to know that by this time. By the way, I forgot to tell you this morning I wouldn't want any tea. Special snooker match night at the club tonight. Now, Mrs. Pearson says that it has been long time that he had not been surprised at her, and now George says that he also didn't like the surprises, and also she must have known till this time, and also he adds that he had forgotten to tell her that he would not take any tea as he has to go to the club that night as there was a special snooker match. Mrs. Pearson, that's all right. There isn't any. But Mrs. Pearson says that that's all right. If you had not said me, you had not informed me earlier. But also the tea was not ready. George, astonished. You mean you didn't get any ready? Mrs. Pearson, yes. And a good thing too, as it's turned out. George, aggrieved. That's all very well, but suppose I had wanted some. But now Mrs. Pearson says that it's a good thing that you are not taking tea, but George also feels that it's all right that she had not made tea. But suppose if he had wanted some tea, then what would be the response by Annie? Because he wanted it, he wanted it every evening, but it was a different day today as he didn't want tea. Now he said that suppose if he would come back and he would ask for the tea and it was not ready, then what would she be doing? Mrs. Pearson, my goodness, listen to the man. Annoyed because I don't get a tea for him that he doesn't even want. Ever tried that at the club? Now Mrs. Pearson talks to herself. She says, my goodness, listen to the man, listen to George Pearson. He has become angry because she has not prepared tea for him as even he didn't want it. And also she says at the same time, what would happen if he ever tried this at the club? George, tried what at the club? Mrs. Pearson, going up to the bar and telling them you don't want a glass of beer, but you are annoyed because they haven't already poured it out. Try that on them and see what you get. Now Mrs. Pearson gives the answer in his language. Now he gives the example that as she had not prepared tea, suppose one day it happens that he would go to the bar, he would go to the club, and a glass of beer is not ready for him. Although he didn't want it, then would he be annoyed with the people at bar if they would not keep a glass of beer ready for him? Also, she says that try it on them and then you will see what would happen. George, I don't know what you are talking about. Mrs. Pearson, they would laugh at you even more than they do now. George, he said that he is not understanding what she wants to say. Mrs. Pearson then says that they would start laughing at you, even they would laugh more at you than they do now. Now she means to say that the people at the club laugh at George Pearson. George, indignantly, laugh at me? They don't laugh at me. Now, indignantly means he speaks in a manner that indicates he is angry. Now he says that they would never laugh at him. They do not laugh at him. Mrs. Pearson, of course they do. You ought to have found that out by this time. Now, but Mrs. Pearson is determined. She says that they really laugh at you, and you must have known till this time. You must have known that they laugh at you till this time. Anybody else would have done. If anybody else would be in your place, he would have come to know that the people laugh at him. You are one of their standing jokes, famous. They call you Pompey Ompy Pearson because they think you are so slow and pompous. Pompous means self-important. And also she adds that you are one of their standing jokes every time you are mocked at by the others because you are famous for that. And also they call you Pompey Ompy Pearson because they think that you are very slow and you are self-important, you are self-absorbed person. George, horrified, never. But he denies, he refuses, he is not agreed with Mrs. Pearson. Mrs. Pearson, It has always bitten me why you should want to spend so much time at a place where they are always laughing at you behind your back and calling your names. Now she says that it has been always hurtful for her seeing her husband when he goes to a place and people start laughing at him, behind his back, and they call him names. Leaving your wife at home night after night instead of going out with her who doesn't make you look a fool. And also she says that you leave your wife at home and every time you spend your time in the club, you go outside without her. You never take her with you, and you are also made fool by others. Cyril enters right with a glass of milk in one hand and a thick slice of cake in the other. George, almost dazed, turns to him appealingly. This means he is almost confused. Now Cyril enters the room. He is carrying a glass of milk in one hand and also he is carrying a slice of cake in the other hand. Then George, who is almost confused, he turns to Cyril and seeks his help. He requests him, George, here Cyril, you have been with me to the club once or twice. They don't laugh at me and call me Pompey Ompy Pearson, do they? Cyril, embarrassed, hesitates. Angrily, go on, tell me, do they? Now George inquires from Cyril. He asks him questions that you have also been with me one or two times in the club. And also he says that the people at the club do not laugh at him and they call him Pompey Ompy Pearson. Then he becomes very much angry. And then he again asks him, do they call him Pompey Ompy Pearson? Cyril, embarrassed, well yes, Dad, I'm afraid they do. Now he feels sorry and also he says that people really laugh at him. George slowly looks from one to the other, staggered. Staggered means now he was deeply shocked and he looks at Mrs. Pearson and Cyril one by one. George slowly, well, I'll be damned. Now he slowly speaks and he curses himself. George exits left. Slowly, almost as if somebody had hit him over the head, Cyril, after watching him go, turns indignantly to Mrs. Pearson. Now George exits. He moves towards left and he moves in such a way, he moves very slowly as somebody had hit him over the head. Now after he goes, Cyril looks at his mother and he is in anger. Cyril, now you shouldn't have told him that, Mom. That's not fair. You have hurt his feelings, mine too. Now he says to his mother that she would not have told his father like that. She would not have talked to him like that. That was not fair. And also he says that she had hurt him. She had hurt his feelings. Even she had hurt his own feelings also. His means Cyril's feelings also. Mrs. Pearson, sometimes it does people good to have their feelings hurt. The truth ought not to hurt anybody for long. Now, she says that it is good for the people if they are hurt for the short time because they should know the truth and they should, even if they don't know the truth, they would be hurt for the long time. If your father didn't go to the club so often, perhaps they would stop laughing at him. Now, she says that if your father will stop going to club, now people would stop laughing at him. Cyril, gloomily, I doubt it. He becomes sad and also he says that he doubted whether people will stop or not. Mrs. Pearson, severely, possibly you do, but what I doubt is whether your opinion's worth harming. What do you know? Nothing. You spend too much time and good money at greyhounds races and dirt tracks and ice shows. Even Mrs. Pearson is not happy with Cyril also. Also she says that he didn't know anything and also she feels that his opinions doesn't have any value as he also spends much time and he spends good money at greyhound races and dirt tracks and the ice shows and he has not the value of money. Cyril, sulkily, well, what if I do? I have got to enjoy myself somehow, haven't I? Sulkily means now he is showing a disagreeable mood. He is not agreed with mother, and also he says that as he gets enjoyment while spending his money like that, and he doesn't want the interference of anyone. Mrs. Pearson: I wouldn't mind so much if you were really enjoying yourself. But Mrs. Pearson also says that she would never mind if he would have been really enjoying himself while spending his money on the greyhounds, etc. But are you? But she is not sure that he was enjoying. And where is it getting you? There is a sharp, hurried knocking heard of left. Then, while they were talking, there is somebody on the door as they hear someone knocking at the door. Cyril: might be for me, I'll see. Then Cyril says that surely somebody has come for me, then he would see. Cyril hurries out left. In a moment he re-enters, closing the door behind him. Then he hurries out very quickly. Very quickly he leaves to the left, and then within a moment he comes back. He closes the door behind him. It's that silly old bag from next door, Mrs. Fitzgerald. You don't want her here, do you? Then he says that it was Mrs. Fitzgerald who was on the door, and also he calls her silly woman as he doesn't like her, and also he puts question to the mother if she wanted her here. Mrs. Pearson sharply: certainly I do. And she says that she really wants her. Ask her in, and don't call her a silly old bag either. She is a very nice woman with a lot more sense than you'll ever have. Then she says that she really wants a lady in the house, and also she tells him, she rebukes him while he was taking the names of the women, as she says that she is a very nice woman and she has a more sense, even she has more sense than Cyril ever have. Cyril exits left. Mrs. Pearson finishes her stout, smacking her lips. Cyril re-enters left, ushering in Mrs. Fitzgerald. Ushering in means he guides her and brings her inside the room, who hesitates in the doorway. Now Cyril re-enters and brings Mrs. Fitzgerald with him in the room. Come in, Mrs. Fitzgerald. Mrs. Fitzgerald, moving to the left center anxiously. I just wondered if everything's all right. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald, she says that she was wondered to see her and puts question if everything was all right. Cyril sulkily, no, it's not. But Cyril doesn't agree with the mother, with Mrs. Fitzgerald, and he says that nothing was all right. Mrs. Pearson sharply, of course it is, you be quiet. Then Mrs. Pearson says that everything is all right and tells Cyril to keep quiet. Cyril indignantly and loudly. Again he becomes angry and speaks very loudly. Why should I be quiet? And he says that he should not be quiet. Why? What was the reason why he should be quiet? Mrs. Pearson shouting, because I tell you, you silly spoiled young Pycan. Pycan means now she refers to him as just like a foolish person. And she says that because she was telling him that he was silly and a spoiled boy, he was a foolish boy. He was a young Pycan. Mrs. Fitzgerald protesting nervously. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald protests, she opposes her. Oh no, surely. Mrs. Pearson severely. Now Mrs. Fitzgerald, just let me manage my family in my own way, please. Then Mrs. Pearson says that don't say like that, because I want to handle my family in my own ways. Mrs. Fitzgerald, yes, but Cyril sulky and glowering. Glowering means having angry look on his face. Mr. Cyril Pearson, to you, please. Mrs. Fitzgerald. Cyril stalks off into the kitchen, and then he also becomes angry and goes towards the kitchen. Mrs. Fitzgerald moving to the settee, whispering, oh dear, what's happening? Now both Mrs. Fitzgerald and Mrs. Pearson are in the room and they start talking to each other, and then she moves to the settee and she says something, oh dear, what's happening? Now she puts question what was happening in her house. Actually now Mrs. Fitzgerald is Mrs. Annie Pearson. Mrs. Annie Pearson calmly, nothing much, just putting them in their places, that's all, doing what you ought to have done long since. Now, Mrs. Pearson tells Mrs. Fitzgerald that she was putting her family on the right places, and she says that she must have done all this long before. Mrs. Fitzgerald, is George home? She sits beside Mrs. Pearson on the settee. Then she asks about George if he was in the house. Mrs. Pearson, yes, I have been telling him what they think of him at the club. Mrs. Fitzgerald, well, they think a lot of him, don't they? Mrs. Pearson, no, they don't, and now he knows it. Mrs. Fitzgerald, nervously, oh dear, I wish you hadn't, Mrs. Fitzgerald. Now, Mrs. Pearson, who is actually Mrs. Pearson, she inquires about George if he was in the house, and then Mrs. Fitzgerald tells her that she had told him also that the people at club do not think good of him, and then Mrs. Annie Pearson becomes nervous and she wishes that she would not have hurt his feelings. Mrs. Pearson, nonsense, doing them all a world of good, and they'll be eating out of your hand soon, you'll see. Eating out of your hand means be submissive. Now Mrs. Pearson tells Mrs. Fitzgerald that she is bringing them on the right path. Now they would be doing good with her, and the consequences would soon be visible, and they will start respecting her and they will obey her, and they would be submissive now. Mrs. Fitzgerald, I don't think I want them eating out of my hand. But Mrs. Fitzgerald, who is actually Annie Pearson, she says that she would never like to dominate them. She would never like that they would be submissive. Mrs. Annie Pearson, impatiently. Now she loses her patience. Well, whatever you want, they'll be doing it. All three of them, mark my words, Mrs. Pearson. But Mrs. Pearson, who is actually Mrs. Fitzgerald, she says that they will do whatever she wanted. All three of them, her husband and both the children, and also she tells her to remember her words and also to treat them as she was treating them since morning. Then George enters left glumly. Glumly means he looks very sad. He is unpleasantly surprised when he sees the visitor. And when he looks at Mrs. Fitzgerald, he doesn't become happy, as actually he doesn't like her. He moves to the armchair left, sits down heavily and glumly lights his pipe. Then he moves to the armchair on the left, kept on the left side. He sits down and he lights his pipe and starts smoking. Then he looks from Mrs. Pearson to Mrs. Fitzgerald, who is regarding him anxiously. Then he looks at Mrs. Pearson and then he looks at Mrs. Fitzgerald, who was looking him curiously. Actually, Mrs. Fitzgerald was looking at him curiously because she was actually Annie Pearson. So students, this is enough for the day. Remaining part of the chapter we will do in the next class. Till then, goodbye and have a nice day.